the economy very much in focus right now as people worry about the U.S. slipping into recession. That was one of the things that we talked about last night on stage, both in the first debate at 6 p.m. and again in prime time at 9 p.m. Here's what Ted Cruz had to say about his plan.
Art Laffer, Ronald Reagan's chief economic advisor, has written publicly that my simple flat tax is the best tax plan of any of the individuals on this stage because it produces economic growth, it raises wages, and it helps everyone from the very poorest to the very richest.
But that's not an accurate description of the plan. Because, first of all, you may rename the IRS, but you're not going to abolish the IRS because there has to be some agency that's going to collect your VAT tax. Someone's going to be collecting this tax. In fact, Ronald Reagan's Treasury, when Ronald Reagan's Treasury looked at the VAT tax, you know what they found? That they were going to have to hire 20,000 new IRS agents to collect it.
Oh, okay. Does Art Laffer really think that this is the best plan? We're going to find out. Art's right here. He joins me right now on set. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Trish. Thanks.
Good to
Great
talk
job
to you.
last night. I loved watching you guys do that. Much better in the second part. No, just
we won't tell Neil,
we don't
right?
tell Maria or Neil, no.
Anyway, I want to ask you about Cruz's tax plan. There are elements of it that I know you like a lot. You know, some things like Marco Rubio brought up, the VAT tax, which may not be as positive. But what are the things that you like?
Well, let's talk about a VAT tax. Let's just get right to it. There is the total amount you can tax in the U.S. is GDP. It's the total production of goods and services. You can tax it at different stages. You can tax it at the income level, or you can tax it at the spending level in retail, which is the fair tax, or you can do it as you collect it along each stage of production, which they want to call a VAT. I mean, that's a net sales tax. It's not a European one, but they're all the same base. So anyone who says this is a bad tax, because they're just trying to get one up on you. This is what you want to have is the lowest possible rate on the broadest possible tax base.
Let's talk about Donald Trump. So do you like Ted Cruz's? Do you think, it's the best? I mean, he said, Art Laffer says, mine is the best.
When he's got that highest rate is what, 16%? That's pretty good, Trish. I mean, and that's what you really want to do is at the lowest rate on the broadest base, and that's what he's pretty much done. Rand Paul's tax was great. You know, Ben Carson's is wonderful. Rubio's goes a little too high, unfortunately, and it's got all these different rates in there, which means it's confusing. It means it's ripe for game playing. It's ripe for...
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump's tax is great. He goes right back to Ronald Reagan's tax rates, basically, is what he does.
Is that what we need right now, Art? I mean, we're watching this market here, everyone, and you can see we're off 430 points right now in the Dow. A lot of fears about China contributing to this, about a slowdown, obviously, throughout the entire global economy, as well as here at home. Oil hitting a 12-year low today. Art, what is it that we need to jumpstart us?
I'm going to tell you, I don't think oil is the reason why the market's down. Low-priced oil is not bad for the U.S. economy. I mean, when you really think of high prices of oil is not good for the economy. When we had the price of oil drop from $32 a barrel to $8 a barrel under Reagan, it sure didn't stop our boom, now did it? We really rocketed
Well, you know, consumers have extra money, but, you know, think about the difference between now and then. Back in the Reagan days, we didn't have as big an energy industry. We now, thanks to fracking, have a tremendous amount of growth in that sector here at home. If oil continues falling, that sector is in jeopardy. Those jobs are in jeopardy.
But just imagine for a moment a $500 a barrel oil or a $2 a barrel oil. Which one would be better for the country? The $2 a barrel oil.
But that means do you think we eventually wind up more and more dependent on the Middle East? I mean, here we
are. I don't think
are.
We're going to be dependent on the Middle East at all.
Building up our own energy industry, in part because it's profitable to do so. If it's no longer profitable to do so, we're not going to do it, and then we're looking back at Saudi Arabia.
But if you imagine what it was like building up our energy industry with all the regulations, restrictions, and requirements, starting with Eisenhower. I mean, these guys have all been pounding on oil from the very beginning. They have all of these tariffs and quotas on oil from the very beginning, Buy America programs, oil programs, and now we're finally developed into where we're almost self-sufficient in oil. That's spectacular. And imagine what we'd do if we didn't have those regulations. I mean, it'd be crazy good.
Let me ask you about another tax proposal, one that we heard about in the first debate. And if we have some sound from this, it would be great, of Governor Huckabee on his consumption tax, which he calls a fair tax. Do we? Perhaps we don't have that. We'll try and bring it to the viewer a little bit later. But you know the plan. So he calls it a fair tax, but basically he'd be taxing everything we go out and buy as opposed to everything that we produce. What do you think about that?
If you look at all the taxes, there are three of them. One, where you earn the money. One, when you spend the money, which is Huckabee's fair tax, exactly. Or one, when you collect it from each stage of production, which is the net business tax.
Okay.
Either one of those, they're the exact same taxes. They'll all work really well. They get all excited at each other, but it's like three of my three daughters arguing which one's the prettiest. They're all three gorgeous.
Oh, I'm sure they are. Here is Governor Huckabee on his tax plan, everyone.
And I still support strongly that we get rid of the 77,000 pages of the monstrous tax code, pass the fair tax, supercharge this economy with the rocket fuel that happens with the consumption tax, and we don't have to cut Social Security to any senior who has worked their lifetime for it.
Thank you, Governor Huckabee. You know, this is his thing. The VAT is Ted Cruz's thing. You know, Rand Paul and his flat tax. We have heard so many innovative proposals. I don't know if any of them are really going to stick necessarily.
Well,
I mean, you will probably see lower taxes as the platform of whoever succeeds. But the fact that we have so many different things being talked about, that's got to get you excited.
It's very exciting.
For a tax guy.
Yeah, because taxes, I mean, you can't tax an economy into prosperity. That doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, you know, if we tax speeders who speed.
Right.
Why do we do that? To stop them from speeding. We tax smokers who smoke. Why do we do that? To stop them from smoking. Why do we tax people who earn income? Why do we tax people who employ people? Why do we tax businesses that make successful products? We don't do that to stop them from doing it. We do it to collect the money we need to run government. Well,
you know, Hillary Clinton just recently said she's going to add on a surcharge, a tax that would be a surcharge to anyone earning a lot. I think it's $5 million. So it's a narrow group, but just the idea of a surcharge.
Every time we've raised taxes on the rich, every single time, revenues as a share of GDP have gone down and the economy has suffered. Every single time. You can do it in the 30s. The rich didn't pay any more either. They didn't. Revenues as a share of GDP by the rich went down. Then you've got the Kennedy tax cuts where we cut tax on the rich.
Yes.
Revenues went way up. We had to go.
It doesn't have to be political, right, Art?
It's not at all. I voted for Clinton. I'm a Kennedy Democrat, and I'm a Reagan Republican. I mean, it just so happens that this round, the Republicans happen to have grasped onto the better ideas than the Democrats. But I loved Hillary's husband. I voted for him twice. And I was everywhere. I was, you know.
Hey, look, this is just economics.
But she's
And you can prove it out with the Laffer curve.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's my profile, by the way.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Trish.
Good to have you here.